I'm pretty sure everybody in here knows, but why don't you tell everybody your name and what you did on the film?
I am Matthew Taggart. I'm the writer and director.
I am Bryce Fernelius, and I played Chaco.
So, talk to us a little bit about the film. I know you and I got the opportunity to talk yesterday. It was very, very, very cool. Tell me the inspiration for the film and how did it come to mind to start writing Counterfeit Kid?
Yeah, I had just finished watching a bunch of Westerns in a row, and I had this idea about someone buried up to their neck in the sand. And it was kind of near the 4th of July, and so I just told my family I needed to take a couple days off while we have the holiday. And I wrote it, we started casting it, and got blessed with an amazing cast. So
yeah, let's talk about casting real quick. So the film was shot in Cody, Wyoming. It was gorgeous, right?
Yes.
Where did you cast out of?
We cast it out of Salt Lake City, actually. I was living in Utah at the time, and so we put out a casting call there and had more amazing actors than we could fit in the movie, unfortunately, but Bryce was just one of them. And the funny thing is that Chaco originally was supposed to kind of be this big brute, just kind of nasty jerk, and Bryce came in with just an awesome read, and we thought, you know what, we're gonna just tweak it a little bit, and Chaco's arguably the best character in the movie.
So what was the casting process like for you? How did you come across the script, and what was your take on the character?
I got one of the writers, Ian Hawkes, sent me an email, and I think he got a recommendation. One of my friends recommended me to him. So I got an email, I'm like, yeah, awesome, I've never done a Western before. It was very little information on the email, and then he's like, hey, we need this back, like, tomorrow morning. So I read it, I filmed the audition like in my bathroom because I had like 0 time, and I threw it in, and a couple of days later, got the call, and I was super excited to do it. He's like, we're filming on location up in Cody. Never been there before, never heard of it before, but yeah, loved it.
That's awesome. Well, we loved you in the film. You were hilarious. Do you have a comedy background? You were stealing laughs throughout the whole film.
I don't. I made like dumb, funny films like in high school. That's where I got started in film. Just with my friends. That's pretty much it.
But there is probably like 20 other minutes that aren't in the movie where it's just Bryce, there's so much funny stuff that we didn't have time to include, so very funny.
That's awesome. How much, Bryce, of what you did was improvised day of?
That's a good question. Matthew really allowed me to improvise, which I really loved, and I appreciate that. Because I would read the script, I would feel everybody else's, the dialogue between all the other actors, and I just, this would be good if Chaco would do this. He's kind of not the brightest guy, but let's just try it out. And I would just try it, and Matthew would be like, yeah, okay, that was good. Let's try something else. So it was surprising because a lot of films that I've done, this is the script, and we're going to follow this. But Matthew would be like, no, give me another one. Give me something different.
Oh, that's awesome. Talk to us a little bit about, seeing you here, you're so well dressed and clean cut. How did you come up with all of the walk and the attitude and the accent and all of it?
So the accent is, my mom and all of her sisters are from Ecuador, and they all pretty much have something like that of an accent when they speak to them. So I pretty much got it to them. And then just watching Westerns, how they dress, how they talk, I've seen the tough guys. Chaco thinks he's a tough guy, but he's not a tough guy. So he tries to just act like that, and it's really, he's just a softie with him.
Awesome. So, Matthew, we were talking yesterday about some of your influences. You're a huge fan of Westerns, but you're also a fan of particular films and genres. You want to talk about that and how that inspired the Counterfeit Kid?
Yeah, there's a lot of non-Western genealogy that would cause an offspring like this. My favorite movie is Ghostbusters of all time, but a lot of those adventure movies that I grew up watching, Back to the Future, Jaws, things like that really do, I mean, The Counterfeit Kid owes a lot, not only to the Western heritage, but a lot of those movies that are just my bread and butter.
Yeah, I caught a lot of, there was the treasure hunt, which kind of gave me a Goonies feel.
Yeah, my son leaned over to me and he goes, "That shot's right out of Goonies." And I was like, I didn't mean for it to be, but yeah, it is.
There was that, it almost it was almost like a Western telling of The Princess Bride.
Yep.
A little bit. It was wonderful. It was a throwback to a very golden generation film. So now I want to open it up to the audience who might have questions for Matt and Bryce. Go ahead.
What did your timeline look like when making the film from start to finish? And then also, what did your funding process look like when you were trying to get money to make it?
It's a good question. We had, luckily, kind of a bad circumstance. We had prepared another movie to shoot, and it fell through. And that's when, so we prepared all this stuff in pre-production locations. We had talked to some people about providing food and other necessities, shelter, things like that, housing. It wasn't that rustic. Housing for the actors and the crew. And when that movie fell through, though, we were able to just kind of switch over to Counterfeit Kid. And so it took us probably from start to finish. There was 2 weeks of filming in Wyoming, and then we had another week or so in Utah and a couple other locations. So probably close to about just under 3 weeks really of photography. And then editing took probably about a year, and then we just kind of put the brakes on it when the pandemic hit. We didn't want to release it when we couldn't show it in a theater. And so it's a bizarre timeline. And then my wife and I, Stacy Taggart is the producer, one of the producers. We just self-funded it. So painful, but easy to get the money from yourself.
True. Go ahead.
Two things. Thank you for setting a film in Wyoming and actually filming it in Wyoming. That's a rare treat. And what are the pros and cons of filming in Wyoming?
Well, there are no cons to filming in Wyoming. It is the greatest state in the union. The pros for me is this is Hollywood for me. If I need to get a wagon or a horse or a bridle or a cowboy hat or anything, I can make a phone call, and if I don't know, I have a cousin who knows, or a friend from high school or whatever, and so it's very easy to get access to things that you need. I mean, obviously we had to go to Salt Lake in order to get a killer cast. I would say the only negative is just sometimes if your camera goes wonky, you don't have the luxury of a rental house nearby to replace equipment. So I'd say that's kind of one of the bummers about filming in a remote location.
Along those lines, because I know there might be some weather constraints and everything like that. How long did the film take to shoot?
Just like I said, about 3 weeks.
Really?
But,
the whole thing in 3 weeks?
Yeah, but the weather was a concern. Luckily, we every morning we'd wake up and it would tell us that it was going to have a blizzard the next day, and it didn't. And it just kept going. And finally, the last day after all the actors went home, the DP and I were there to film some B-roll, and when we woke up, there was 4 feet of snow. So that's Wyoming.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Back row.
Right here.
Go ahead.
Do you know like any of the characters or locations you were going to use like before you did the final draft?
Did we have any other characters?
Yeah.
Initially, there were 2 henchmen that would help Bloody Ben, who were just kind of Tweedledee and Tweedledum, but just as we rewrote it and kept going through the different processes of the drafts, they just kind of fell by the wayside. I don't think there were any other locations, though.
Right here.
I really enjoyed this, but how did you decide to have sort of an inept hero? You know what?
Well, I would say another one of my big inspirations is Indiana Jones, and I think the best part about Indiana Jones is that he's always in over his head. Every time you think he's going to get the drop on someone, something bad happens, and eventually he manages to work it out. But that appeals to me as someone who just enjoys a good yarn. I like characters who don't have it all together and are just trying their best.
Go ahead.
I kind of wanted to piggyback off one of the questions I was asked earlier. By the way, yes, thank you for filming in Wyoming. And as big and as beautiful as Wyoming is, you was talking about weather concerns and whatnot. My question for you is was there any, I guess, obstacles or challenges with technical crew, camera operators, DVs and all that, trekking through the rough terrain that you guys end up, shooting a lot of photography there? Because it's a hard place to navigate, if you're not used to hiking and stuff like that.
I mean, no. We had just the best cast and crew. No one ever complained. There's one shot in the movie, if you remember, you see Bloody Ben's boots come in, and he reaches down and picks up the tobacco pouch. And we had forgot to film that when we were at that location, and it was up at the top of this just horrible hill. And so when we filmed that cut in, we hiked all the way up to the top, and our first AC went, wait a minute, this is just his boots? Why didn't we just film that in the parking lot? Why did we hike all the way back up? And it was kind of like, yeah, that actually, I guess we didn't need to hike all the way back. But that's the only time I can really remember someone complaining or, having a difficulty.
Are you working on a current movie now?
Yeah, we actually have another, I say we, Falcon 85 Films, my wife and I. We have two. We have one about Buffalo Bill, kind of telling the I don't know what you'd call it, the old wives' tale or the myth about what happened to him after he died, whether he's really buried in Cody, which he is, or if he's buried in Denver. We have a comedy kind of set about that. And then we have another Western adventure called Rio Toro that I'm working on right now. And if you want to fund it, just come see me out in the hallway. I'll be out there afterwards.
I have a quick question. I noticed in the credits there was a lot of people who shared your last name.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about that? Who was helping out on the film with you?
Absolutely. So again, I mentioned my wife.
Yeah, stand up and take a bow.
Yeah. I'm very artistically minded, and my wife is not only artistically minded, but she's really good with technical stuff. So she did all of our permits, all the cast deals, all the logistics that I'm just dumb at. My mom and her both worked on the costumes. My mom actually, right there. My mom got her degree actually in materials and costumes. So it was nice. She had access to just a ton of different costumes in Cody. Who else am I thinking of? Look, I can take advantage of it. It's my movie, right? My son Lincoln, though, although he's only 8 years old, he literally would sit by me as I would edit the movie, and so I felt it was fair to give him an assistant editor credit. And then my son Harrison in the back, when there's 3 shots in the movie that we needed, and I had him run camera, so in the additional camera, and both of them helped build the saloon set. So
really? You built the saloon set?
Well, we built half of it. Half of it was an actual location, and then kind of the facade around. That was something that my wife's father, he's worked in construction, and so him and the boys got together in the garage and built the set.
Wow, I was going to ask.
There's lots of other ones that I'm probably forgetting. Oh, yeah. Okay. My sister Mary did the hair and makeup. There she is. And again, it was nice because it's nepotism, but it's also she's really talented at it. And then my cousin Rebecca, I don't know where she is. Her dad, Greg, is in the movie. And there's just tons of, I mean, we're a big family.
That's great. That's awesome. It's a family affair. We have time for just 1 or 2 more questions. Way up there.
Well, one thing, Matt's no stranger to hiking. We walked all over the Bighorn Mountains together, elk hunting once. So. But I just wanted to comment on the casting. I thought the faces that you selected in your casting they were so interesting. They weren't necessarily what you would consider beautiful or this or that. They were just very interesting faces, and I think that really captivated me as an audience member.
Well, good. Yeah, I mean, I think any credit that you might give me is, and again, I don't even say this to be false humility. Honestly, the cast was so good that I didn't have to do much. So.
Right there, go ahead.
I'd like to know a little more about the interplay, or I'd like to know anything at all about the interplay between you and the music. I mean, is that a one-off, or was there some back and forth?
Yeah, that's another person I should have mentioned. So my brother ended up doing the music for the movie, and how that came about was we had been interviewing and talking to other people, getting samples of music from various composers, and it just couldn't make it work. There was always a scheduling conflict or something, and all of the boys in my family went out to a football game in Tennessee, and as we were flying home, I was sitting by my brother on the plane saying, this really stinks because we've got this great movie, we just can't find music. And he watched a couple scenes and he nodded. And then 2 weeks later, I got this email from him, and he had written this just amazing piece of music. And so I put it on my phone, got in the car, and was driving with my wife, and I said, I have a new composer. I want you to just tell me honestly what you think. Didn't tell her who it was, played it, and she just said, this is unreal. Like, who is this? I was like, you're never gonna believe it, because my brother's an insurance salesman by but he did study music, and he's always been musically inclined, but he just blew us away with his sample.
Wow,
so,
what a cool story.
and it's available on iTunes, so you can check it out.
And guys, I have another question for you. So as we said, you stole almost every single scene you were in. Are you working on anything currently? Do you have anything else coming out, and where can people find you?
Good question. I mean, I'm on IMDb right now. I've just been doing a lot of commercials in Utah. It's a big commercial state.
Yeah.
So it's been fun doing that. But yeah, I mean, I'll pop up on a couple of commercials that you can see, but that's pretty much it. It's just back to the auditions, back to the hustle.
Right, back to the hustle. That's the actor's life. Awesome. Well, to both of you, congratulations on your hard work.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for being on support.